Okay, so we'll solve this detailed drawing problem using AutoCAD. So first we want to identify the front view and draw with fully defined dimensions the three most important views. So front, top, side, that's A, and then B will create a section view, and then C will apply linear or dimensional and geometric tolerances. So let's switch over to AutoCAD. Now you can draw the views in the orthogonal views manually, or you could model this in 3D and generate the views. I'm going to use the second method. So let's begin. So of course I can always go to new. I'd always prefer to make sure I'm using a CAD ISO. And then I am using mechanical, so I'll switch the workspace here to 3D modeling. If you are using default AutoCAD, you can switch from drafting and annotation to 3D modeling, just as we've done there. And then as usual, I would like to dock the command window, and then in here select Southeast Isometric and type in UCS icon, and I want no origin. I want to move this to the corner, so no origin, like that. Now I'm ready to draw. So if we look at the exercise given to us, I think we can draw this view here and then extrude it to get the bottom part, and then we would continue from there. So looking at the dimensions, we can perform whatever calculations are required, and then draw. Okay, so let's go back to AutoCAD. Now looking at where I want to begin from, it is only right that I switch from weld to right, and then I'll draw in the view needed and continue. Right, so let's go for line. Then I want to start at this point, 0, tab 0, and I'm going to move. Let me turn on the ortho mode. So I am going to move at a distance of half of 38, and that should be 19, right? So 19. Okay, and it seems small, so you may have to maybe zoom in. Let me pan this back to the middle and hit escape, and then up by 4, and then to my right by 8, and then up once more by 12, and then all the way back here. So I'll just use mirror, select all these, hit enter, and then mirror them all to get this other side, and then I'll go for no. Okay, so what I can do is, again, I can select them all and then join, just to be sure. Now what I can do is I can extrude the entire thing by can extrude this entire thing. I don't know which direction we would like. Let's go to the other direction, maybe, and that should be 89, like that. Okay, and then say Z enter, A enter. So this is what we have, and if we switch from here to conceptual. Okay, so that is that. Now what I can do next, I can change this to the top so that the grids are on top like that. And then I want to draw in the boss. Okay, so let's go back to top, and then let me switch to 2D wireframe. Okay, so I would now draw in a circle that is from the has to be the midpoint, right? And the distance here should be 38. Okay, and then the diameter is 28. So of course the radius is going to be 14, like that. And let me go back to let's go back to say world. Okay, so it's down there somewhere. I can just get it. So I'll click on it and then move it up by a distance of 16. Okay, so once I do that and I switch to conceptual, it should be available here for me. Okay, so I will now pull that up by 3, right? And then I still can go for a circle, and that circle I can draw that here, and that's the hole that is going through. So the hole has a radius of 6.5, which is half of 13, so 6.5. So I'll draw that, and then I can use press pull and then pull through this, and that will create a hole for me or for us. Okay, now we left with the, so this is what we've done so far. We have this portion here to go. So let's look at how we are able to construct that portion as well. Okay, so for that, perhaps we can switch to right, and then I can get a circle. This time I'm just going to use center diameter, and from this midpoint to where that circle is located, that's a distance of 41. So 41, and the diameter, as we know, is 13. Right, so the diameter there is 13, and then we have an arc of radius of 17. So let's just use a circle, center radius. Is that what I have? So center radius, and then of course the center is that, and the radius should be 17. And now I have a line that is connecting from this point such that it is tangential to that, and then another line which starts from that point and is tangential to that. So make sure your tangency is on, and then now I can connect this line to that line, and then trim. Let me click on cutting edges and select these as my cutting edges. Hit enter, Now I can click in here to cut. Now if I were to go for press pull and try that, will it work? Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this and then the line there. It will be quite difficult to get the line right. Okay, so what else could I do? Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is I am going to select the line work, which is all of that, and then I can click on that arrow and move it back like that. And then line, I will now connect this to that, and let's try press pull. Okay, so let's join them all together. So we join them all like that. Let's try press pull again. Okay, that's fine. It looks like it's not selecting the. Okay, so let's select press pull and then click on that, and the diameter there, or the thickness rather I should say, that's 13. So 1 3, and then I'll go for press pull again, and then I'll just pull this one out, which will cut it out for me. Now I'll go for move and then select this, hit enter, grab it by this corner and then position that here, right? And that is what we're looking for. So now let me switch back to world, and then I can go for fillet and then a radius 3, and then this is the edge I'm looking for. So I'll just click there, then hit enter and enter again. So that is done for. Okay, so what we'll do next is let's join the two parts. So we can select this and select that, hit enter. So now they're joined, and then we go for fillet. So the fillet radius, we can start with 5, so 5 and then enter. And then now we can click here and hit enter, and then maybe enter again. And now we go back for fillet, and then this time the radius should be 3, and then what we're looking for is to click on that edge, hit enter, and then click on chain, then click on these other parts and hit enter, and that's basically would be what we are looking for as a solution. So you make sure you are consistently saving your work. Okay, so now I can maybe select these and delete them. If I were to switch to realistic, I can have that. I think I still have this drawing, so I can delete that as well. Okay, so we done with the model. We can quickly maybe switch to the layout, and then switch to the layout and generate the views. Okay, so we're ready to generate our orthogonal views, but yeah, I've opened a document in AutoCAD because the mechanical is misbehaving. So I can now go back to layout. In fact, once I'm in layout, perhaps what you want to do is you may want to click on page setup here, go to modify, and then you can change the printer or plotter to AutoCAD PDF high quality, and then you can also change the paper size to say ISO A3 like that, and then that should be fine for now. So let's click on OK and then close. So we'll have this. You may also right click here, go to drafting standard setup like that, and then you may want to select first angle like so, and then you would OK that. Now we can click on base view from here, and then from model space. Okay, so I am going to put my front view here, click on exit, and then put my top view all the way down below like that. And then I rather want the right side view, so I'll put in this view rather. This is what I want. I prefer the right side view to the left side view because I want to eliminate as much as possible some of the hidden lines. And then I think I can put my isometric maybe around here somewhere. Then I can hit enter. So now then what I can do next is I can just click double click on that, and then changes to shaded with visible lines like so. Okay, so now I've opened the created orthogonal drawings, orthographic drawings in AutoCAD Mechanical. So what I can do next is let me change the workspace. I think let me switch to mechanical. Then go back to layout because I just want to draw in some center line. So click on center line, and then from here to there, and then so midway through that, so from here to there, and then obviously here through that point. And now I can go for the center line cross, then I can put that in there. And then for the cross I can have another one here. And now I can go for the line from here to that point. Okay, so there are some modifications that we can manually do around here. I'm sure you know how to tackle them. Basically, you need something like a square that will go here. And then if you wanted a line that goes Okay, so what we should do next is we can provide the dimensions. All right, and because we generated the views, you'd see that AutoCAD will automatically produce some layers for us. Okay, so if we need to dimension, obviously we can go to annotate. Okay, so let's begin with this portion. So from that point to this point, that is 41. You realize that this dimension here is quite different from the original drawing that was given, right? So I decided to make this portion rather 41 to make it longer and simpler, right? So I think we can do the that dimension in here. I think it will be better. So we can dimension the 4 maybe here, and then we'll use that. So I would hit escape, and then what I want to do is I want to use that as a base. So right, so I'll select this as my base, and then the next dimension I want that to be here. So that is 16, right? Okay, so power dimension. So from here to that point, that will be 13. Now I can hit escape, and then I want to use chain. So I'll click on this, and then the next part is there. So that will be 89. Okay, so I think we can look at this portion. So from here to there, that should be 8, and that's correct. So I'll hit escape and go back um, for chain, and then I'll select this. The next portion that I'm looking for should be here. So that will be 38. And then I would hit escape and go back for the baseline. This is where I want to begin from, and I want to end here. So that is 54. Okay, so that's taking shape nicely for us. And then this height here, we can dimension that. So I think what I can do or want to do is why don't I rather use say chain. Okay, so I would now dimension this distance here. That should be 3. So for radii, or let me start with diameter, so I can dimension that. Then we have 2. Right, so we have 2 of those. Then I can go for radial dimension, and then this is R17. So we can have radial So we can dimension that. That will be R5. Okay, and then I think so. So R14. Now we can go for power, and from this point to that point, and then from this point to that point. So from here to there. Of course, we have another R here, R3. Okay, so we can go to open this, and then we can edit that. Go to modify, and then the lines we can make by layer, which is fine, and then by text instead of yellow we can make by layer as well, and then okay that, okay this, and okay that. Okay, so I would go to layer, and then change the layer color for that to, I'll just type in white here, and then I would okay that, and close this. Okay, so I think what is left with is the text. I'm not sure why the text is not changing, so let's go back here. Okay, so AMISO, let's edit that. AMISO. So let's go to and then under text, we said by layer, and the layer is black, and it's not changing, so let's change it to by block something, and then okay that, okay this, and okay that. Okay, so I've resolved the issue with the font color and all that. All you need to do is you need to make sure that you are using the correct layer that you are editing. So if you have edited AMISO, make sure that all your dimensions are on AMISO. So say you select that, you go to its properties, and then in here make sure that the dim style is on AMISO and not on some other one. So say for instance, if I were to choose AMISO $0, that wouldn't help me much because that's not what I've edited. So make sure you selected the one you've edited and you put your dimensions on them. Usually when you have this, it means that AutoCAD wants to be sure of the dimension, so you click on reassociate, you click on the caution, and then you click on reassociate, and then you can just confirm that it's beginning from here and ending there. Then once you confirm, usually it should go away, but that is not a problem. I'll go to layer. So you see that for the center lines I've put in, the layer is a cyan. So I'll go to layer, and then this is what I mean. That is cyan. So let's click on that, and then in here, let's just type white. Okay, so that changes to white, and then I've also turned on the line weights. Again, if I go back to layer, you see that the line weights are quite different. So that is what you are seeing in here. Okay, so say for instance, this is MD visible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the boxes I drew, which is this one and that one. Go home and then put them on MD visible, which is this one. Okay, all right. So now I have my dimensions in place. I can now go back to the question and look at what I have. So B says that I should create a section view with a center line through the two drills of diameter of 13 as my section line or plane. So I have one drill here, 13, another one here, 13. So my section plane is going through the two of them. So that's basically what a full section is. Okay, so a full section looks something like this. So you have a plane shown in green that is cutting through this object as shown, and then the view is drawn. So on the top view, of course, the edge of the cutting plane shows as a line. So that is the cutting line going through, and then this is the view that is gotten after we have we've cut through the objects. Okay, all right, so let's implement that. Okay, so we'll select once we click on layout in here, we can select a full section, and then we can select the parent view, which is this. Now mind you, we are told that we are going through the 213 millimeter drills, so I will start somewhere out there, and then I draw like that. Okay, so this view then will become my solution. So I'll click and then position it as shown. Okay, so that is AA, and AA or section AA will be the solution required. Now what I want to do is I want to move it to the right, move it away. So now I can click, I'll select on it, and then I can click on this here. So you see when I move it, it only goes up and down. If I want to move to my right, of course, let me turn the auto mode off. If I want to move to my right or to my left, what I'll have to do is hit the shift key on my keyboard. So once I hit the shift key on my keyboard, I can move either to my left or right. And then perhaps I can position it somewhere there like that. And then I would select all of this and then move it up a little bit. So like that. Okay, and now those of us who are using AutoCAD for the center lines, of course, layout, rather annotate, right? And then for you, your center lines are here. I've already demonstrated how to do this or drawing the center line using AutoCAD Mechanical, so you can use that approach. Those of us on AutoCAD, you can just click on center line here, and then for you'd have to select this point and that point, or that line, and then the center line will automatically be drawn in for you. So we do that once more. So this vertical line and that one. So you see that when you draw it, it appears, it doesn't look like a center line at all. So you can type LT scale or LTS, hit enter. The scale there is 1. Let's change it to something like 0.75, and then now you see that we can see that. Let me try that again. LT scale and then 0.75. Let me regenerate it. I'm not sure why we are not getting any response for this. Let me delete it and redraw. It must be my graphics card misbehaving. So center line, and then I want this line and that one. Right, or at least this one worked. It's unfortunate this one is not working. I'm not sure what is the challenge. Okay, so I think it was too short, so I elongate it a little bit, and then it's now working. Okay, so let's go back to the next question. Okay, so we go to see where we apply the tolerances. So we want a basic tolerance to the 60mm height of the block. The 60mm height of the block, which is this one, we want to make it a basic tolerance. Okay. Okay, so to implement that, let me go to layers and check something before. So layers, and then for AM5, that is the one with the dimensions on it. I would change the line weight, make it something fainter. So I'll change that to 0.15. They are too thick for my liking. And then maybe this text. Let me move this text a little bit like that. Okay, so this height here, 16, we are saying it should be a basic, a basic dimension. So for us in mechanical, that's easy. Once you click on that, the ribbon changes, and then what you want to do is want to select this theoretically exact. That's a basic dimension, right? So just click on it, and then a box will appear around it, and that's the solution. That's all there is to that. Let's move it back a little bit so you can see. Okay, so that is that. Now say if you were asked to, let's say for instance, make the 89, which is this one here, a basic dimension, and you are using AutoCAD, you can just right click, go to the properties, and then you would have to scroll all the way to tolerance, and then you will look for tolerance display, and then you would select basic. Now you see, once I put it on basic like that, you see that the 89 also becomes a basic dimension. Okay, so these are the two methods to be used, but of course I don't need the 89, so let's undo that, and then we go to the next question. So we are to apply a tolerance of plus or minus 0.03 to the 54 length of the block. That is that side there. So 0.03. Okay. So that should be here. So I can now select this, and then for again those of us in mechanical, I'll just click here on tolerance like that, and then you can go in here and change. This is the method you want, symmetrical, and then we can change the value to 0.03, 0.03. This should be negative, right? Okay, so this is one method to use. Alternatively, we can just select the dimension and then right click, go to its properties, and then again all the way down to tolerances, and then display, we change this to symmetrical, right? And then we can enter the value 0.03, and that will be that, right? So that solved that for us. And then we can go for the next one. So all other dimensions, we have to use a tolerance of plus 0.01. So let's implement that. Now, mind you, we want to ignore, or we want to do away with compound tolerances, right? So wherever there is the likelihood of compounding tolerances, we want to ignore that. Okay, so that being the case, I'm not going to add any tolerance to 8 or 38 because that will compound 54. So I'm going to select the height here 4. I can add a tolerance to it. And then the radii and the diameters I can add. For the fillets, I won't add any tolerance to it. I'm going to add to the 89, ignore the 13 because I don't want to compound that. And then I would also add to 3, and then 38 here, 38, 27, 27, and 14. Right, so obviously I can click on tolerance and then select. That's one method, but I'd prefer to go to their properties and then go all the way down to tolerance, and then instead of none, obviously I'll choose symmetrical, and then the default value is 0.1, so that's fine. So that solved that for us. And then I think there should be a last one, so I can go back to the question, and then I have a geometric tolerance of position to the boss. This is the boss, and then the tolerance is 0.02 to the x and y face. So this is the x face, this is the y face. Okay, all right. So there are several things that would have to do to be able to implement that. So the first thing, should I say a couple of things rather, is for us to place in our datum identifier. So the x was on this side, so I'll click here on datum identifier and then select the body to attach to, which is this. So I'll select some points like this by clicking, and then I'll also position the identifier maybe somewhere there. So I'll just click and then hit enter. And this portion, if you remember, this is our x. This is the x face. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing on that side. So click and then enter, and this identifier was y, right? So I have the two identifiers. Now to put in the required information, I'll use the feature control frame, which is this. So I'll click on that, and then I'll select the object to attach to. I want to attach it to that, and then now I can click here, then maybe click there, hit enter. Now I have the entirety of this, and mind you, it's a geometric symbol of position. This is the position symbol, so I will select it, and then the tolerance is 0.02, right? And then I have a reference of x and a second reference of what, of y. Then I'll go to OK, and that basically will be the solution for that. Now maybe what I can do is I want to select the these three, and then right click, go to their properties, and the color, I want the color to be by layer, and then the layer here, okay, so I expect that to be black, but it's not happening. So let me just change the color before, instead of by layer to by block, and then just make them black. Okay, and this basically would be the solution. Usually these things you just click on them, click on reassociate, and then you reassociate by clicking where the dimensions are supposed to start and end, and they should go away. But my graphics card is misbehaving, so it seems to be there, but don't worry about them. Then let me regen. Okay, and this basically will be the solution required of us.